Hello my friends, and welcome back to another NixOS tutorial video. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can set up a NixOS terminal-powered development environment on Hetzner Cloud. The only prerequisite for following along with this tutorial is a system running NixOS. If you have not already, you can check out my previous video in which I went through this nixos WSL starter. Video is linked here, and this should be more than enough to get you up and running on Windows on WSL in order for you to follow along with today's tutorial. So we have another template here. We have another sane, batteries included starter template for running NixOS on Hetzner Cloud. It follows largely the same kind of structure as the WSL starter, and it also has a quick start walkthrough section, which I will be walking you through live on air today. The first step here is to create a server on Hetzner Cloud. It doesn't have to be particularly powerful. We're going to use a shared virtualized CPU CPX11 instance. The only thing that you really need to make sure that you do is add your public SSH key so that you can SSH into the instance and do all of the cool stuff to set up NixOS. So let's head over to this Hetzner Cloud tab and add a server. I am on the west coast of the United States, so I guess Hillsboro, Oregon is the closest to me. We'll select Ubuntu 22.04 as the image. We'll use the CPX11, the cheapest one. Networking, we can leave this as default. You can add any of your SSH keys here. Volumes, firewalls, backups, placement groups, labels, cloud config. You can leave those as default for the purpose of this video. So let's call this NixOS Hetzner Cloud Starter so that we know what it is. That will take a moment to create. It already has a public IP for us. Awesome. We are going to need that in a couple of steps' time. The next step of the quick start is to copy over your SSH public key. Most of you will have this file, this file idrsa.pub, which you can CP. I have this as well, but if you have a different kind of SSH key, I'm sure that you'll know which public key to copy over. So we just want to make sure to git add this, git add idrsa.pub. Once again, there are a lot of fix me notices in this repo that will draw your attention to where you might want to make changes. So let's get this open. As always, we can start in the flake.nix file, and we can go through the fix me's one by one. So as I mentioned in the previous video, if you want to allow the installation of insecure packages, make sure that you add them one by one here. I think this is a much better way to go about it than using the option that allows you to enable by default, like a blanket enable of installation of any insecure package. Next up, you can set your username. So I'll set my username here, and we can get rid of this fix me. The next file for us to look at is this Hetzner file. The only fix me here is to make sure that you have this public SSH key that we copied. If your public SSH key has a different name, you can just change it here. Maybe it's not an RSA key, maybe it's a different type of key. You can change the name accordingly here. Now that we're done in this file, we go back and we see that the next one is linux.nix. So right at the top, uncomment if you want to reference your GitHub or GitLab access token and any other secrets. These will come out of this file. If you do choose to use this file and you do want to commit secrets, make sure that you use something like gitcrypt to encrypt this file before you commit and push. We're not going to be adding any secrets here today. We just want to get up and running. So we can remove this fix me and head to the next one. Again, if you would like a shell other than Z shell, you can make updates here and here. If you, like me, prefer to run Docker without sudo in front of every command, you can uncomment this to add yourself to the Docker group. And here again, we want to make sure that we have an SSH key public file. This one is for our user, right? So if we go back to hetzner.nix, this is for the root user. So we are going to be setting the same SSH public key for the root user and for our own user, just for ease and convenience. We're not doing anything here with the secrets file, so we can remove this. And it looks like the last remaining file for us to look through is home.nix. Again, we're not going to do anything with the secrets here. You can select core binaries that you always want on the bleeding edge in the unstable packages list. And here in the stable packages list, I tend to have key tooling, core languages, local dev stuff, language servers, things that you want to be kind of rock solid all of the time. If we carry on down with the fixmes, you can set session variables for editor and shell if you want them to be anything different. And here there is a section for you to add packages that you think maybe don't necessarily fit into either one of these two lists. If you have your own Lunavim config, you can also add that to the root of the folder, git add it, and uncomment this line. Here it assumes that it's called lvim _config.lua, but you can call it whatever you would like. If you prefer not to use the Starship prompt, you can just set this to false, or you can get rid of the whole thing. I'm quite a big fan, so I'm going to leave it enabled, and the same goes with all of these command line tools like Fuzzy Finder, like LSD, Zoxide, and Brute. I think they make for a very pleasant terminal development environment. We can also add our Git username and email here. And just add mine very quickly, and then get rid of these fixmes. So we're not pulling in the secrets. We'll get rid of that fixme there. The Z shell configuration file is also auto-generated. I like to think that these are pretty sane defaults. You can play with them, add plugins as you would like. You can add more Git aliases here, your own preferences. You can make changes that you see fit. And then we get to the bottom, and I think we are all good. So why don't we quit out of this for a second and take a look back at the quick start. So the next bullet point tells us to run nixos-anywhere. So I want to take a brief moment to introduce you to this excellent project. nixos-anywhere was initially developed by Numtide and then gifted to the Nix community organization. And basically it allows you to install NixOS everywhere via SSH. I really recommend taking a look at this repository. In particular, check out the Quick Start Guide, which is the guide that I adapted for use in our starter template. Very cool project. Thank you very much, Numtide. we can see here that we're going to run a command on nixos-anywhere. We're going to run it as a flake, and we're going to pass some arguments. So we're going to say the flake that we want to apply is in this current working directory. We want to apply the configuration named nixos to this server IP. So let's take a look here. So we have flake.nix, and so the dot refers to the flake.nix in the current working directory. We come down to the bottom, we have nixos configurations.nixos. That's what this refers to. And then we're going to grab that public IP address from earlier, and we are going to construct a command. So nix run, you can see I've done this before. Right. It reused the IP address from when I was doing the dry run of this. Anyway, this is a brand new VM. We brought it up from scratch, as you saw, and we are about to hit enter. So what this will do, maybe we can actually take a look at the nixos-anywhere repository while this is doing its thing. So what it does is it automates the disk partitioning and formatting, the configuration and the installation of nixos, and the installation of any additional software that we define. You can see it is SSH'd in there. It has copied over some public keys, a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's looking like it's working. It's doing its thing. It is now copying all of the paths for the base installation, I believe, from the cache, setting it up, doing so much stuff. You know, it's really amazing the thought that has gone into this tool, that you can just point the command at any cloud server running Ubuntu or Debian or, you know, whatever. And once the command has finished, you will have a virtual machine in the desired state. And this is also really powerful when you think about it, because let's say, so for example, I have, you know, my own nixos configuration set up here on WSL. I can essentially replicate that in one command on a cloud VM. And so let's say that, you know, I didn't have a particularly powerful laptop, and I don't have a particularly powerful laptop. I do most of my work on my desktop. Let's say I have a Chromebook or something like that, and I need to travel for a week and I still need to do some development or whatever. You know, I can just set up this VM with everything that I expect, all of my shortcuts, my zshell RC file, my git config, all of the tools that I need, exactly the same as what I have here on my home computer. I can set that up in a cloud VM, and I can SSH into it with a Chromebook, and I can just do everything that I need to do. It's really amazing when you think about it, especially if you have gone through the pain of setting up a Linux server from scratch. You know, you bring up the server and then you have to SSH in, you apt-get update, you want to use Vim, but Vim's not installed, then you have to install Vim, and then you try editing some files, but oh, you don't have your vimrc. All of this stuff. It's amazing how well it gets taken care of here. It looks like we are now at the point where it's installing packages that we have defined. I know because I always pull in this VS Code lang servers package. This is most useful, I think, for JSON and YAML and other sub/supersets of JSON. We're nearly there. I think we are nearly there. Hey, installing nixos. So now that all of the packages are there, the only thing that's left to do is put them all together and have an operating system that works for you. So waiting for the machine to become reachable again. And these are all the logging messages that are coming out of nixos-anywhere. And done. So that took us about 5 minutes, right, from scratch. Everything coming from, the remote cache. I think that's pretty cool. So we wait for the installation to complete. Yep, we did that. Try to SSH into the server with SSH LGUG2Z at this IP address of ours, and you'll probably receive an error like the one below. Follow the steps to remove the IP address from known hosts. There we go. If you want to know more about why this happens, there is a section about it in the quick start guide of nixos-anywhere. But basically, when you first SSH in, where is it? The target server will have been overwritten with a new installation of a new OS, and the server's SSH public key will have changed as a result of this. So I think we can remove line 29, try again, and remove line 28 as well. And there we go. We know that this is our new server. We can hit yes, and look at this. We are in our nixos Cloud VM. So cool. So absolutely freaking cool. So now that we're on here, we can install Lunavim. That'll take us a second. We hit no to all of these dependency prompts as we did last time. First time setup does take a little bit of time for Lunavim, but it is totally worth it. And then we can exit out of here. So we're back in our local shell now. We can go to, I believe it was the home file, and we can set the editor variable now to lvim. And so now, here is what I think is really the magic part of this. You remember this command from the last video, which we used to rebuild and apply changes? It also takes this target host flag, which means you can target a remote server to update the configuration. And I don't know, to me, this is just amazing, having come from the bad old days of like Ansible and Chef, and yeah, it's such a breath of fresh air. It means that you can have one configuration in one repository for n different virtual machines and apply the updates. And this is different from bringing up a virtual machine in a fixed state with Terraform. Terraform is great for bringing up individual pieces of infrastructure, but for managing them over time, I think you can't really beat NixOS. So we can see that all of the changes were built locally, then copied over. So now if I SSH back in and I echo editor, I have lvim. Pretty freaking cool, if you ask me. it's like that's pretty much it. Of course, well, we're probably not going to be developing any Rust on this low-powered server, but if you were to be doing this on a much bigger, beefier VM, you would install all of your components for the Rust toolchain with Rust up. We can go ahead now and exit this SSH session. You know, we're back to where we were. And I think this is basically the end of the tutorial, right? But you may be thinking, hey, Jeezy, hang on a moment. Now I have two separate frickin' repositories, right? I have one repository for my local Nix configuration. I have one repository for this cloud configuration, and it's like 99% the same. And that feels kind of wrong to me, right? Like, it shouldn't be like that. And my friend, you are 100% correct. If you stay tuned for the upcoming installment of this NixOS tutorial series, I'll be walking you through how you can refactor your local configuration to make space for additional configurations. First, we'll start with a cloud configuration and walk you through how to manage multiple NixOS configurations for different targets in a single repository. I really hope that you enjoyed and that you learned something from this tutorial. I hope this gets you excited about NixOS. And yeah, it gives you the confidence to start messing around with some of the configurations in these files. Everything is really well documented here, right? So this is the superpower that you're not really directed to very early. Basically, you can look at any option in here. So like usually it's going to be services.something, services.openssh, settings maybe. Great. Just when I want to look up something, this site gets super duper slow. Oh, maybe that is a bad on my end. But anyway, yeah, there are so many options here, and like if you want to enable Zookeeper, services.zookeeper.enable, and you set all of the options, and basically if there is anything, right? If there is anything in here that you don't understand, you are probably going to find an equivalent option in here that just, you know, explains how it works. It's very powerful, and I highly recommend keeping this page on your bookmarks bar. I think this is a good place to wrap it all on up. Please make sure that you leave a like and you leave a comment and you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. If you would like to support this work, I have a GitHub sponsors profile on GitHub. Most people sponsor me for my work on Komorebi, which is a tiling window manager for Windows, the one that you see me using right now. So you can go to any of my repositories, hit the sponsor button, and you know, if you want to leave a tip, leave a one-time sponsor. If you would like to become a monthly sponsor, you know, even if it's $1 a month, it means a great deal to me. So that is it for this time. I hope you'll come back next time to see how we manage multiple configurations in a single repo. I hope that whatever you all do today, you have a great day, and I hope to see you all back here next time. Goodbye for now.